You're not born with independence. You build it. 5 specific habits, practiced daily for 6 months, will transform your psychology from reactive to self-directed, from externally validated to internally grounded, from socially dependent to strategically independent. This isn't theory. This isn't inspiration. This is behavioral psychology, proven patterns that rewire neural pathways and create permanent psychological transformation. Most content describes the traits: independence, self-reliance, strategic thinking, observer mindset. All accurate, all true, completely useless if you don't already have them. You're not here because you've mastered these traits. You're here because you want them. This is Primal Mind, where psychology meets instinct, where transformation happens through systematic behavior change, not wishful thinking. Today, we're breaking down the 5 habits that create independent masculine psychology, what they are, how to practice them, why they work, and what to expect during the 6-month transformation. This is the manual nobody shares. If you're ready for 6 months of uncomfortable growth, drop committed in the comments. Core principle. Here's what most content gets wrong. It describes the destination without mapping the road. You see men who operate independently, think strategically, observe rather than react, and you're told, be like that. As if awareness creates transformation. It doesn't. Transformation requires specific behavioral changes practiced consistently until they rewire your default patterns. These 5 habits aren't comfortable. They require discipline. They demand consistency. They create significant discomfort during transition. Most men will read this, nod along, and change nothing. The few who actually implement, who commit to all 5 habits simultaneously for 6 months without exception, will transform. The habits work. The question is whether you'll do the work. Habit 1. Strategic solitude. The first habit is non-negotiable daily solitude. Not just being alone, strategic solitude. 3 hours minimum. 0 social interaction. 0 digital distraction. Just you, your thoughts, and specific cognitive work. Here's exactly how to practice this. Wake up 3 hours before you need to interact with anyone. 4 a.m. if necessary. This time is sacred. Phone off. No internet. No music. No podcasts. Complete information. Silence. Divide the 3 hours into 3 blocks. First hour, review yesterday. What happened? What did you observe? What patterns emerged? Write it down. Physical journal. Document observations about people, situations, yourself. This is data collection. This creates observer mindset. Second hour, deep work on personal project. Something you're building that nobody knows about. Could be learning, creating, planning, something that serves your development, not external obligations. This hour trains independence. You're creating value that doesn't require external validation. Third hour, strategic planning. Map the day ahead, identify objectives, plan approaches, anticipate challenges, create contingencies. This tactical thinking becomes automatic. The daily practice builds strategic mindset. Why this creates independent psychology? The isolation from social stimulus rewires social dependency. Your brain learns it doesn't need constant connection. The observation practice develops pattern recognition. The personal project builds internal validation. The planning creates strategic thinking. 3 hours daily for 6 months rewires your baseline social needs. What to expect? First 2 weeks are brutal. You'll feel lonely, bored, anxious. Your brain will scream for stimulation. Push through. Week 3, the resistance lessens. Week 6, it becomes tolerable. Month 3, you'll start preferring it. Month 6, you'll protect this time fiercely. The discomfort is the rewiring happening. How to know it's working? When you start feeling drained by social interaction and restored by solitude. When you catch yourself observing rather than participating in conversations. When you have projects advancing that nobody knows about. When your planning prevents problems others don't see coming. The markers are clear. If 3 hours of daily solitude sounds impossible right now, drop solitude. That's your first obstacle. Habit 2. Absolute boundaries. The second habit is absolute boundary enforcement. Every single time. No exceptions, no compromises. Every boundary violation gets immediate response. This habit creates the independence and self-respect that define self-directed men. Here's how to practice this. First, identify your actual boundaries. What's actually unacceptable to you? Not what should be. What actually is. Write them down. Be specific. I don't discuss my personal life at work. I don't respond to messages after 8 p.m. I don't attend events I don't want to attend. Clear boundaries. Second, communicate boundaries once, clearly. When a situation arises where a boundary applies, state it. I don't discuss that. I'm not available after 8 p.m. I won't be attending. Direct, calm, non-negotiable. You state it once. If they ask why, "That's my boundary" is a complete answer. Third, enforce immediately when violated. Someone pushes past a stated boundary? Consequences are immediate. End the conversation. Leave the situation. Stop responding. Whatever enforcement the violation requires, immediate, every time. No warnings, no second chances. Violation equals consequence. Fourth, never explain or justify. Boundaries don't require justification. "That's my boundary" is complete explanation. When you explain, you're seeking approval. Boundaries don't need approval. They just exist. The refusal to justify is crucial. It establishes boundaries as facts, not requests. Why this creates independent psychology. Boundary enforcement builds self-respect. Every enforcement proves to yourself that your needs matter. The consistency rewires people-pleasing patterns. Your brain learns that maintaining boundaries doesn't destroy relationships. People adjust or leave. Either is acceptable. What to expect? Massive pushback initially. People will test boundaries. Hard. They're used to you being flexible. Your new rigidity confuses them. Some relationships will end. Good. They were based on you violating your boundaries. New relationships form based on respecting them. First month, relationship turbulence. Second month, people adjust. Third month, new normal establishes. How to know it's working? When you don't feel guilty enforcing boundaries. When people stop testing them because they know you're consistent. When you automatically evaluate situations for boundary implications before agreeing. When you'd rather be alone than violate your boundaries. The shift from conflict to automatic is the marker. If you've been a people pleaser your whole life, drop boundaries. This will be your hardest habit. Habit 3. Calculated speech. The third habit is complete elimination of reactive speech. Never speak immediately. Every statement is filtered through a pause, assess, decide process. This creates the calculated communication and information control self-directed men have. Here's the practice. Implement the 5-second rule. Someone asks a question or makes a statement requiring response. Count to 5 before responding. Silently. 1 1,000, 2 1,000, 3 1,000, 4 1,000, 5 1,000. Then speak. Every time. No exceptions, even in casual conversation. During the 5 seconds, run an assessment. Is a response necessary? What information does my response reveal? What are the consequences of different responses? What serves my interest here? The assessment becomes automatic with practice. Initially, it's conscious. Eventually, it's an unconscious process completing in 5 seconds. Eliminate filler speech completely. No no like, no verbal placeholders. If you're not ready to speak, remain silent. The silence while you think is better than filler. Forces you to think before speaking. Creates impression of considered communication. Reduce speech volume by half. Whatever you currently say, cut it in half. Most speech is unnecessary. Social lubricant, filling silence, seeking validation. Cut all of it. Speak only when you have something worth saying. The reduction forces selectivity. You start evaluating whether statements are valuable before making them. Practice saying, "I'd rather not discuss that," as a complete sentence. No explanation, no softening. Direct refusal to engage with topics you don't want to discuss. The phrase becomes an automatic response to unwanted questions, protects information, maintains privacy. Why this creates independent psychology. Reactive speech reveals too much, gives away information, creates commitments, provides ammunition. Eliminated reactive speech means everything you say is intentional. Your words become strategic rather than reactive. People can't read you because you're not leaking information constantly. What to expect? People will think you're weird at first. Why are you pausing? Are you okay? The unusual speech pattern creates questions. Ignore them. Continue practicing. Week 2. People stop commenting. Week 4. Your careful speech becomes your normal. Month 3. People describe you as thoughtful or careful with words. Month 6. They've adjusted completely. How to know it's working? When you regularly choose silence over speech. When you catch yourself about to say something and stopping because it's not strategic. When people comment that you're hard to read. When you have fewer regrets about what you said because everything was intentional. The selectivity is the marker. If you talk too much and regret it later, drop calculated. Habit 4. Physical intensity. The fourth habit is daily physical intensity that pushes genuine limits. Not exercise, not fitness. Intensity training that creates controlled stress response and builds physical capability that translates to psychological resilience. Here's the protocol. 6 days per week, 1 hour minimum. The training must be genuinely difficult. You should question whether you can complete it. Heavy weights, hard running, combat training. Whatever creates real physical demand. The key is intensity, not duration. Structure: 10-minute warm-up, 40 minutes of intense work, 10-minute cool-down. The 40 minutes should be hard enough that you're focused entirely on completing it. Can't think about other things. Can't maintain conversation. Full physical engagement required. Progressive overload mandatory. Every week the demand increases. More weight, more distance, more rounds, more intensity. Can't plateau. Must constantly push new limits. The progressive demand is crucial. Adaptation happens at the edge of capability. Train alone, not in classes, not with partners. Solo training only. This is important. The training is building self-reliance, pushing limits without external motivation, the capability to demand intensity from yourself without accountability to others. Solo training builds different psychology than group training. No music, no podcasts, no distraction, just you and the physical demand. The absence of distraction forces confronting the difficulty directly, builds mental toughness, creates comfort with discomfort. The mental training is as important as the physical. Why this creates independent psychology? Physical intensity regulates stress response. Your nervous system adapts to handle high stress. This translates to psychological calm under pressure. The daily practice of pushing limits builds confidence and capability. You know you can handle difficulty because you handle it daily. The solo training builds self-reliance. You don't need external motivation. What to expect? First month, physical adaptation. Your body is adjusting to demand. You'll be sore, tired, questioning the commitment. Month 2, physical adaptation completes. Month 3, psychological benefits emerge. You're noticing increased calm, better stress tolerance, more confidence. Month 6, the training is foundational. Miss it, and the day feels wrong. How to know it's working? When you sleep better. When stress affects you less. When you feel competent in your body. When physical challenge becomes where you go for mental clarity. When missing training creates irritability because the regulation is missing. The dependence on intensity is the marker. If you're not training at genuine intensity 6 days a week, drop intensity. Habit 5. Digital minimalism. The fifth habit is radical reduction of digital presence and consumption, not moderation, near elimination. This creates the information control, reduced social dependency, and mental clarity self-directed men have. Here's the protocol. Delete all social media. Not reduce. Delete. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, LinkedIn, if not professionally essential. Complete elimination. No consuming, no posting. Gone. The accounts themselves deleted, not just apps removed. Phone usage under 1 hour daily. Track it. Actually measure. 1 hour total for all phone use. Texts, calls, email, navigation, everything combined under 1 hour. This forces radical selectivity about phone use. No news consumption. 0. No news websites. No news apps. No news podcasts. Complete news elimination. Information that's important will reach you through other channels. Everything else is noise creating anxiety without providing value. Email check twice daily maximum. Morning and evening. 30 minutes each. That's it. No constant checking, no notifications, scheduled email time only. This batching increases efficiency and reduces fragmentation. Replace digital time with analog activities. Reading physical books, writing in physical journals, face-to-face conversations only, physical hobbies. Build a life that doesn't require screens. The replacement activities are crucial. You can't just eliminate digital without replacing with something. Why this creates independent psychology. Social media creates comparison and validation seeking. Elimination removes these pressures. News consumption creates anxiety about things you can't control. Elimination restores mental peace. Constant connectivity fragments attention. Elimination restores focus. Digital minimalism creates the mental space independent men operate in. What to expect? First week, withdrawal, literal addiction symptoms, reaching for phone constantly, anxiety about missing out, boredom, push through. Week 2, withdrawal symptoms lessen. Week 4, new patterns establish. Month 2, massive improvement in focus and mood. Month 3, you won't understand how you lived digitally dependent. Month 6, you'll be protective of the minimalism. How to know it's working. When you stop caring about others' online lives, when you don't know current events and don't care, when you read books for hours without distraction, when face-to-face conversation becomes preferred over digital, when you feel more present and less anxious. The peace is the marker. The 6-month timeline. Month 1. Uncomfortable. Everything feels forced. Solitude is lonely. Boundaries create conflict. Speech feels awkward. Training is exhausting. Digital withdrawal is hard. This is normal. The discomfort is old patterns resisting new ones. Month 2. Adaptation begins. Solitude becomes tolerable. Boundaries feel less confrontational. Speech feels more natural. Training becomes routine. Digital minimalism feels normal. The habits are establishing. Month 3. Benefits emerge. You're noticing increased independence, better decision-making, reduced anxiety, more confidence. The psychology is starting to shift. Not complete, but directional. Month 4. Integration. The habits feel natural. You're no longer forcing them. They're becoming who you are. People comment that you seem different. More confident, more composed, more independent. Month 5. Acceleration. The changes compound. Independence creates opportunities for more independence. Confidence creates more confidence. Strategic thinking reveals more strategic opportunities. Growth accelerates. Month 6. Transformation complete. You're operating as a self-directed man. The habits are automatic. The psychology is rewired. Looking back at who you were 6 months ago, the difference is dramatic. You've become a different person through consistent practice. Conclusion. Those are the 5 habits that transform reactive psychology into self-directed psychology. Daily strategic solitude, 3 hours, absolute boundary enforcement, elimination of reactive speech, physical intensity training, 6 days, complete digital minimalism. 6 months of consistent practice creates permanent psychological transformation. The habits work. The question is whether you'll actually do them. Most won't. They'll read this, find reasons why these habits won't work for their situation, and change nothing. They'll stay reactive. That's fine. These habits aren't for everyone. But if you're serious about transformation, start tomorrow. Schedule the solitude. Identify your boundaries. Implement the 5-second rule. Plan the training. Delete the social media. All 5 habits. Simultaneously. Complete commitment. 6 months. No exceptions. Track your progress. Journal the changes. Document the resistance. Note the breakthroughs. The transformation is real but gradual. You won't notice daily changes, but month to month, the difference will be undeniable. The discomfort is the growth. When habits feel hard, that's the rewiring happening. Push through discomfort. Maintain consistency. Trust the process. 6 months of uncomfortable practice creates a lifetime of independent psychology. You have the roadmap, you know the habits, you understand the timeline. The only question remaining is whether you'll actually do the work. Most won't. Will you? Drop committed and tell me which habit will be hardest for you. If you're going to cherry-pick easy habits and skip hard ones, you won't transform. It's all 5 or none. The habits work together. Incomplete practice creates incomplete results. Start tomorrow, not Monday, not next month, tomorrow. The transformation begins with action, not intention. 6 months from now, you'll either be transformed or you'll be making excuses. The choice is yours. The habits work. Do you